Welcome to Let Me Be Frank. I'm Mike here with Frank. How we doing today, Frank?
Pretty good, Mike. How you doing?
Good. I mean, this weekend was hit or miss. You know, if you include that Vikings pick, which we videotaped this podcast on Friday, so we talked about it, but I didn't. Obviously, you guys didn't get it. I would have been 2-1-1. Had a push on the Saints game. That Giants game was tragic and despicable. I was expecting them to play in the second half how they played in the first half, in the whole game, really, honestly. So that went not so much our way. The Packers game, if you took a money line, we lost tragically again, late field goal, and they were up like 14 late into the game in the fourth quarter. But if you took the teaser and you took them on the points, you won both ways. So I count that as a win, 2 out of 3. And then that Vikings game, which we had cash before, the weekend even started. So I didn't have a great weekend. It was no 2-0 weekend like the first weekend. And then obviously our teaser won, and then our moneyline dog lost because I'm a loser and chose the Bears.
My money line won.
Yeah.
I had Tennessee.
Frank had a good week. How did you do, Frank?
I did have a good week. Unfortunately, I split on the podcast. Again, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will have a Twitter page, and I'm working on actually a website so that you guys can look on late Saturday night or Sunday morning and see what we actually, more of our picks and what we actually will end up betting. We do like to wait till last minute, see where the lines move, and most people should be doing the same thing. Again, our podcast comes out every Friday night. Please, next week, check us out. Hit that subscribe button. So let's go with, I had Buffalo last week. Remember last
I
week?
do want to say one thing real quick, Frank, before you go into your recap. If you guys listen to last week's podcast, this is the Down Under. We are now in the Down Under. You guys can see it. We had technical difficulties last week, but we're back up and running this week. So welcome to the Down Under.
Welcome to the Down Under. Love it. So, last week I was yakking about Josh Allen being an alien, but he performed brilliantly last week, and obviously that was my number one pick. Actually, I'm sorry, it was not my number. Denver was my number one pick. Buffalo was my number 2 pick.
Oh God, Denver.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go over that just in a minute here. I did have Denver on a teaser with San Francisco. So thanks to the Hail Mary pass at the end of the game, I actually covered that game. Matter of fact, I couldn't believe I won the game. I checking my account. Hey, I watched.
Somehow Frank wins on these teasers through 0. How? I don't know.
So enough of my recap. We're looking. There's a thing I want to say. I have a few rants every once in a while, and I got to know the one.
Every once in a while, more like every day.
Yeah, that's true.
He calls me with something new. Hey,
for all you, I'm going to go right into this real quick.
Okay, go.
For all you old timers, I'm an old timer, and we got a young buck over here doing picks, and I'm going back to 1972 with George Allen. Billy Kilmer was the quarterback. They played the Miami only undefeated team in NFL, and they lost to Miami in the Super Bowl. But that year, George Allen was consistently, with a minute left or 45 seconds left, going for a field goal or going for a touchdown when he's already got the game dominated and won. But yet he's going to cover the spread. And I want to say, and I've not heard one person talk about it. I actually read about it on an off-the-wall internet website the other day. I did not know that
Sean McVay
for the Rams with 30 seconds left or something like that, actually kicked a field goal. He has no shot in this game. But yet the line was 7.5. It went down to 7. So with that field goal, he actually pushed if you bought the line at the end when the game's first, or the final line.
Yeah, the closing line was 7, but for a lot of people it was 8.
8 and 7.5.
8.5, 7.5. Yeah.
So they actually lost that game. McVay,
Frank's coming for you.
I'm calling you out. Let me be Frank, Mike. You continue to do this. I will come out on you every week, the week that you do it. When George Allen did it, now we didn't have ESPN back in 1972 and all that other stuff, but I'll tell you what, every tout sheet, everything read the next week. Watch out for George Allen because he will try and cover that spread. Why? I have no idea. And I
That's
have
just
no
about
idea.
25 years before my time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For you old timers who might remember that and remember the controversy that George Allen had with that, even on the sports newscast in those days too. It wasn't on the worldwide of sports, but it was another sport.
Oh, we're getting
Okay,
back into the
enough
heyday.
enough of my rant for right now. Mike, let's go with one of your picks. Let's go with some of your
All right, let's
picks.
go straight into the picks. Listen, if you guys couldn't tell from my Lions jersey, the blue hat, the blue shorts. I mean, I'm wearing flip flops right now, but so I don't have blue shoes on.
We're
But
down under today, so we can be casual.
yeah, we can be casual here. My first pick, Frank, the Lions. Listen, I'm on another one of these
Ooh.
wrong line moves. But last week we won with the Packers after the wrong line move, and we really should have won that game outright. The Giants looked like the team I thought they would in the second half after the wrong line move, and I think they probably should have won that game by more. They just had an atrocious first half. But here's the thing. I know that the line has moved from I think it was at 5.5 at open,
Yes.
and then it's now down to 3 at some places. Juiced, it is juiced to probably about minus 120. But listen, if you've looked at this Lions rush defense, they're actually top 10 in the NFL, almost top 5. They've only allowed 84 rushing yards a game. We just saw them shut down Kenneth Walker in the Seattle game to 2.7 rushing yards. We saw in the first game against, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Against, who's the Lions' first game against, Frank? Oh, the Chiefs. What the heck? Against the Chiefs, we saw them also shut down the Chiefs' running game entirely. The only one that had over, I think, 3 yards a carry or 3.5 yards a carry was Mahomes, which we all know that their yards per carry are exasperated because they're running quarterbacks. So here's the thing: this Atlanta defense or offense is strictly running. So now you're going to take one of the better run defenses that we've seen, and you're going to put them up against this number one rushing offense. But the difference is that Detroit has an explosive offense and can beat you in the running game and beat you in the passing game, Frank. And I think that right now Detroit's biggest weakness is their secondary. And I have said it one time, I'll say it a million more. Desmond Ridder should not be a quarterback in the NFL. Please. He's a game manager, sure, but he's never going to win you games. He's never going to be able to put the team on his back. So I don't know what they're doing in Atlanta, Frank, but I really like Detroit at -3. Money line minus. I'm not going to tease through 0, but -3. I really like it. We're talking a field goal here. We're talking basically who's going to win. That's what we're talking about.
With this in mind, the line did go down.
Quite a bit.
The pros are hitting it. I think, and the only reason I think they're hitting it is because the Lions were 2-0. Their defense has showed up. Their offense still is not all that great. Detroit's
Yeah, but who did they?
Detroit's at home too.
Yeah, but who did they play? They played the
Green Bay.
Panthers, who are not good, right? They have nothing going for them on
Green
offense.
Bay's still gonna have to prove that.
And Green Bay had a lot to prove, and they had injuries last week. And Green Bay should have won that game, but they just kind of blew it at the end. I'm not impressed so far. If the Falcons beat the Lions at home, I will eat my words next week on the podcast, and I will say I was wrong about the Falcons. I'm sorry, Desmond Ridder. Maybe you should be in the NFL, but I don't think I will be.
I'm backing off this game because actually it was a 3-star bet for me when it first opened up. I just sat back just to see how this week was going to go. So, but Mike loves it. I think we should follow it.
And I only have 2 picks this week, so we're going to go 1. Frank's going to do his top 2 picks, and then I'll do my last pick.
Okay, and then
he'll do 2 more.
Okay. All right. Here down under. Everybody is picking Denver. They are top bets on every tout sheet I've looked at. I'm not, I read the tout sheets. I don't follow their what they're saying. I just want to I read the information because they tell you, they're 5-1 against this team. They even give you who's hurt and who's not hurt, who's coming back and who's not coming back. So they're kind of good informational things to read. But anyways, going back on this, I love Miami. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Top offense going against, and I know Mike's about to tell me. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. Tell me now.
No, it's not that I don't like the game. I just think I know a lot of pros are on it, a lot of sharps are on it. I think a lot of
Doing
the
better.
publics, I think a lot of publics on it. There's something that telling me that this is a fishy game. If you look at it at
The
face value,
Dolphins, it is a fishing game.
yeah. If you look at it at face value, other than the fact that the Dolphins are fish,
Right.
if you look at it,
But
it seems like why are we not hammering the Dolphins? That's why I couldn't bet it because it's
well,
like why are we not hammering them?
you even told me last week. I was expecting to hear this from you. The first thing you said when I said I love Miami, you says, "Well, their defense is all that great." Well, I did a little research, and he's right. Their defense against the run is not that good. But does Denver have a rushing?
I mean, I
No,
don't know. It doesn't seem
they,
like it.
they
I
don't.
think they can, but
Until Denver proves anything to me, you're going stepping into Miami with the most highest scoring team right now. They're averaging 30 points a game.
yeah, they're just killing it.
Yeah, they're just killing it. I'm sorry, and I'm only laying. Well, I bought a half. I like buying points, of course. Uh, but so we're gonna go with Miami. I have nothing else to say about this. I'm
I mean,
sorry.
I don't hate the pick. Like I said, it just seems a little,
Follow me, folks. We're going with Miami.
it just seems a little fishy. That's all I'm saying. If you told me Dolphins minus 6.5, against the Broncos, I would say take the 6.5, or I would say lay the 6.5. Sorry, but then if I look into it a little more, I'm like,
For you gamblers out there, and if you do have a little doubt about my pick, I'll give you one thing that you can say against this pick. Miami's playing Buffalo next week. And an old pro, Lem Baker, once told me, sometimes when they got to play the big team next week, they don't give two shits about the team that they're playing this week. And if they're laying anything over 10, you better be jumping on it. But I think those days are over. That was back in the early 80s.
yeah, the rivalries aren't as strong as they
They're
are
still
now.
strong, but I just don't think the teams look ahead as much as they used to.
Mhm.
I think they play for today. You got a lot younger players today. They're under in their 20s and early 30s. I'm sorry. I think those days are over. I don't think they look ahead as much.
All right,
So, but anyways, we're going with
minus 6.5, not
minus six
bad.
and a half. Okay, I bought a half. Get down to 6 if you can. You don't want to lose by that half. Cleveland, number 2. I did not have Cleveland until actually last night. I went to go I still have 2 last man standing.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ladies and gentlemen.
we always do a little pre-meeting about what we like. Frank switched it entirely up
Yes, I did.
last night. He must have saw something
I did.
because
There's a lot
he
of time last
switched
night. So
up a ton of stuff.
I had to research for last man standing yesterday. So I got into my books and did some homework. Back in the day when Tennessee used to be the old Houston Oilers. Remember back to the
Warren
old
Moon,
guy, the old guys again.
old Warren
I hope the
Moon.
old guys can watch our show pretty soon. So, anyways, the Cleveland used to be a 3-point game against Houston Oilers, but that was in their conference. Now they're in Tennessee. We're not in their conference no more. So I threw that out. Here's what got me on Cleveland. Coming off which a game they should have won against Pittsburgh.
They had all the statistical advantages.
Everything. I know they lost our top
Well,
running
2
back.
defensive touchdowns.
We lost our top running back. That's
They
going to
didn't
hurt
lose it, but the backup looks so good.
And
for home for it.
right, I think Deshaun is going to get better. I still got faith in him. But I'm sorry, this is where this game come down to. Last week I had mentioned statistically the top 4 defenses in football. Cleveland was number 1 going into last week, and it is again number 1 defense this week. I'm playing this on defense. I'm a defense gambler. Matter of fact, I didn't realize until I started looking at some of my picks. Cleveland is a very good defensive team. And
I don't know what times are you going to say that they're a very good defensive team.
A lot.
I think Frank likes their defense. I'm not sure.
So that's my pick. I'm going with Cleveland minus 3.5.
I actually really like this pick, to be honest with you. Everyone says go the Vrabel underdog route, and Vrabel's so good at an underdog. But I think you might be I think you're right. I think that this Cleveland Browns defensive line, I think is going to torture the offensive line of the Titans. It's not the same offensive line it has been the last few years.
Tannehill's not really playing
And
all that
Tannehill's not playing well,
well.
and Derrick Henry can only do so much when you got guys in your face. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers could not run the ball last week at all. The Bengals could not run the ball the week 1 at all on this Browns team. Is Tennessee going to be able to do it? Because Tannehill won't beat them.
No,
So,
he won't.
but Watson might beat the Browns himself because he does not look good. But we'll see how he looks. Okay.
There's my 2. Go for your.
Here's my second and last pick. We're going back on Philly, Frank. The team that you said you were going to be backing a ton this year before we started the year.
And then the first thing I said when you said I loved Philly was, oh my God, what's going on with Tampa? What the hell happened to this team?
Well, listen, the Tampa's 2-0. Okay, we can't discount the fact that they're 2-0.
And they're still the team from last year, which wasn't that bad.
Well, they have a decent amount of
defense.
I don't even think their defense. I don't think their defense is good. Listen, this is what I think about the Tampa Bay team. I think that this is a little bit of an overreaction. Philly hasn't looked great their first 2 weeks. Did they look good against the Vikings? Yeah. Did they look great though? No, not by any means. The Vikings were in that game the whole time. It felt like
they sure were.
If they just a couple mistakes by Philly, or if the defense couldn't hold them or didn't get the turnovers that they did, Minnesota could have won that game. It was very possible. But
for some reason, Philly's defense, they're playing a zone defense. I think they call it a box.
Well, I wouldn't hate on Philly's defense too much because I think that
they're getting burned a little bit in the middle.
Well, let me tell you why I like Philly here.
Go ahead.
Okay. Philly has a very good rushing defense.
Yes.
And Philly also has a very good secondary. We've seen that the first 2 weeks. And I don't think that Baker Mayfield, I get that he has a lot of weapons. I get that he has Godwin. I get that he has Evans. But I don't think that he has what it takes to beat this Philly defense. So I'm going to lay 5 here with Philly when I don't think they can get beat on the ground or through the air. And I don't think Tampa's defense is good enough to stop Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. And they just had an injury to one of their starting cornerbacks. And the only reason that they're putting up the kind of points that they are on offense and the kind of yardage, they played the Bears, who lost their 2 starting safeties, and they already don't have a good defense. We've talked about it since the beginning of the season. And they played the Vikings, who had like 4 or 5 turnovers, and Kirk Cousins had probably the worst game he's ever played in his life. This Tampa team is not good, and I think that Philly's going to crush them on Monday night.
They should. By all rights, they should. They still have one of the top offenses in the football.
Yeah, I mean,
he's right. I'm so pro on Philly. I still have Philadelphia to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't care. I love you, Frisco. And Dallas, you look good too, but I'm going with Philly versus Cincinnati, but we've still got a long way on that yet. We'll just see if Cincinnati can come back.
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. I feel like the teams that start out slower and then get better as the year goes on, they tend to be the Super Bowl winners. But go ahead.
What was the opening line on that Eagles game? 6.5?
Oh, I think it was. Yeah. I think it was like 6.
6.5. I got 6.5. I had it at 6.5.
So once again, the line's moving against me. Go figure.
Yeah, well, you had it at 7, so this should be a good bet for you.
Yeah, I had my line was made at 7, so at 5 I'll take it.
Yes, exactly.
Because 5 is in that 4 and 3. 4 is kind of a big number, but 3 is the really big number. 7's the really big number as well. But I mean, 6 and 4 are kind of. That's why Frank buys a half point down on that Miami game, is because 6 is kind of that in between, could be dangerous type number.
All right.
Well, what are your next 2 picks, Frank? Give us your last 2, and then we'll get to the teaser and the dog.
This is another pick that I came up with again last night, and it was because I was watching a San Francisco game, and I actually texted Mike before the San Francisco game and asked him, why is this line at 10.5 and has not moved at all? It might have hit 11 once, but I've never seen it. I heard, but I've never seen it. Why was this line at 10.5? And in the last hours before this game, they announced that 4 starters were out for the Giants, including their number 1,
Saquon Barkley, their best player.
Best player. The line has not moved. Why is this game? First of all, back in our day, back in the 80s and 90s, the days of the Stardust and all, this game was either circled or taken off the board, because these sport books were not going to take no more action on this game with 4 starters out. Then
Well, it's not 1985,
it's
Frank.
not 1985, and I worked at the Barbary Coast, and I had a supervisor, one of the top supervisors. Matter of fact, he's in the Gamblers Hall of Fame now. He once dragged me into an office once because I kept complaining because Tampa was playing New Orleans, and this is 1986, 87, somewhere around there. And I kept complaining why the line was 3 and it never moved. And I looked at the books, and he had like $35,000 on one side. And I asked him, well, he called me out because I was complaining too much. He says, "What is your problem?" And I says, "I don't understand. You know, you guys get $1,000 bet and you move this line a half a point. You got $25,000 on this game and you ain't moved this game a point yet. You're not even a half." And he says, "Sometimes we just have to gamble," which is telling me that the casino, the sport books, or the supervisors are gambling on this game, which tells me last night you got 4 starters out. You got one of the top defenses in football. You're at home, and your line's not moving. The public had to be banging San Francisco last night.
So you think the public screwed the books on Thursday night?
I think the public killed the books last night.
Okay, what does this have to do with your pick, Frank?
So
I'm confused. You got me lost.
now, well, this is where Dallas, the number, I think in my book here, statistically, they're ranked 4th in the defense. I don't believe that. I think 12.5, it might be a 2.5 points more than what it should be, maybe. But they're playing Arizona, the worst team in football.
They haven't looked like that the first couple of weeks, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, well, who they play? Washington, and then last week, who they play last week?
Last week they played the Giants. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and
they almost
again,
beat them.
there's another thing saying why is that line only 10.5 and the Giants could struggle against Arizona?
I don't know. Listen, I don't really like this pick. I don't like laying these amount of points. It's too easy to backdoor cover, and teams don't care about winning.
Right. It's too
by margin.
And we don't want to get a backdoor cover on this. But I'm going with Dallas to blow this team out 33-14.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, but I just don't like those lines that big.
So I'm going with Dallas. Is going to be my third
backdoor
pick.
Cover alert.
I think. But the sport books, and they have this. I think they have this number right, where they didn't have last night's number right, and I think last night they gambled, and I think they lost.
Do you think they're gambling on this game?
No, I think they're 12.5. I think they got it right. It should be maybe 14. It should probably be 14.
So you think they're gambling again?
No, I think they just got the number right to get people off thinking like you don't like the game. Like the goal, remember, of the sports book is money both ways.
Yeah. Unless they're gambling like your story was.
I think last night was a gamble. Okay, my last pick is the Raiders.
Hate it.
Down under, we're going with the Raiders. He hates it, but Pickett has not showed me nothing. That Pittsburgh does have.
Pittsburgh just went against the 2 best defenses in the NFL. You understand that, right?
Yes,
they just went against San Francisco.
Yes, I do.
And you just said Cleveland was your number 1.
Yep.
So you're saying the 2 best defenses in the NFL, Pickett went against that with a shaky offensive line that we talked about in the very beginning of the season, and you're telling me that you're upset that he didn't do more.
I'm upset he didn't do more.
What about the Steelers' defense?
Steelers' defense is probably my only but on this game. This is my 4th pick.
I won't cut you off anymore. I'll let you say your piece, and then I'll say mine.
There's not really much more to say.
I
think the Raiders are at home. Pittsburgh's coming off a very tough 2 games. They could be beat up right now too. I just like the Raiders. I think the Raiders at home, opening week for them. Is this opening home game?
Yeah, it is the opening home game.
Yes. So, and we're here in Las Vegas, so I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Yeah, they had Broncos at the Broncos week 1, and then last weekend
at Buffalo.
It was at Buffalo.
So yeah, at home, opening week, only laying 2.5 under a field goal.
Listen, this line has moved again, and once again, I guess I'm on the wrong side of the line move. It's at 2.5, but it opened at like Steelers -1.
Yeah, and it went the other way. Well, then again, we're in Las Vegas, so I can.
You think the home field?
I
think
you got a lot of money coming in
on Vegas.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Listen,
in the old days, San Francisco's line was always 1 or 2 points higher because they used to drive over from San Francisco to Reno to bet on San Francisco.
Yeah,
so
but
the
there's so
line was
much money now. I don't think that's a factor at all.
probably, again, we're talking the old days.
Yeah. But this is why I like Pittsburgh. Their defense is so ferocious. You saw them on that Monday night game against the Browns. The only reason they win that game is because of their defense. Their defense had 2 scores. Their defense didn't totally lock down the Browns offense, but they did what they needed to do to get the job done. And we're talking about a Steelers defense that also had to go against the super dynamic, super healthy 49ers offense.
I want to bring up something about this Cleveland game. Now, I'm glad you reminded me because I almost forgot. A friend of mine in Cleveland called me during the Pittsburgh Steelers game, and I'm from Cleveland. And she says, wow, what a game. They're back in the house of pain. That's what they used to call it. You know, a lot of people don't realize how much of a rivalry.
Thank you for adding on to why the Raiders is a terrible pick.
Yes, but they were playing in Pittsburgh against Cleveland, which is one of the most biggest rivalries since Michigan State.
Can we get a word out? Can we get a word out?
Okay, I'm just gonna make this real quick. That is a big rivalry. Pittsburgh, I actually had Pittsburgh on a teaser plus 4.5 with Frisco again, which won 2 on the teaser. But the point is,
what's the point, Frank?
Cleveland always wins in Cleveland against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh will beat Cleveland in Cleveland. It's a big rivalry in the house of pain. So I'm throwing that game right out. First, you have me convinced about that.
Okay, listen.
All right,
I don't want to hear anymore about the House of Pain.
The House of Pain.
Because the only House of Pain.
This game is not in Pittsburgh.
The only game that this is going to be House of Pain is House of Pain on your bankroll. Okay, because let me tell you, Frank. Kenny Pickett and this wide receiver core is good. They lost Deontay Johnson. I think it hurts them a little bit, but I think they have the pieces. Najee Harris, the offensive line doesn't look terribly bad, and the defense is really good. I don't think that this defense. I need to see Josh Jacobs do something for the Raiders because I think that the defense will smother Jimmy G, and I don't think he's that great. Yes, he kind of just goes out there and wins games somehow, but I don't. The defense of the Steelers against the running game of the Raiders will decide this game. That's what I think because I think the Steelers will score on this Raiders defense. I just don't think it's that good.
Again, it's my 4th choice. I will give you some leeway on what you got to say.
I just love that it's our first head-to-head of the year.
It is. Usually we battle out after the first week. I have to give you a DeNozo, though, if you keep this up.
What do you mean? I'm just telling you how I feel. Listen, the Steelers almost made my card.
Can we do a Big Mac on this?
A Big Mac? Frank, we're in Vegas. This is the best food in the world. You want to do a Big Mac?
Yeah, well, I can't afford their steaks at, $400 or $500 a steak over here. Anyways, let's move on.
Anyway, sorry. We'll figure out a bet. We'll and we'll tell you what it is next week.
Okay.
Let's jump into the teaser and the dog.
Let's do it.
Well, if you guys couldn't figure it out already, my teaser is going to be Pittsburgh, and I'll just say it now. My dog's going to be Pittsburgh. They were so close to being on my card. It's insane. And I didn't put them on. Maybe I'll add to it, later if, maybe I'll play them. I'm definitely going to be putting them on a teaser, my own personal teaser. But my teaser of the week is Pittsburgh. My dog of the week is Pittsburgh. Who's your teaser of the week, Frank?
I'm going with Buffalo. A -1 or 2 against Washington.
Back-to-back Buffalo weeks. Although on a teaser, I love this game.
I actually wouldn't mind betting this game. I'm just a little worried that, again, like I said earlier, I don't believe these teams look ahead anymore. They're playing a weak team, Washington.
Well, I think
defense is still top.
I think they do look ahead still, and both of these Miami-Buffalo games are so fishy to me because to me they should be greater than 6.5-point favorites. That's what I think. I think they should be 7, 7.5. Why are they 6.5? I can't. I'm staying away because they just seem off.
Did Buffalo go down to 6.5?
Yeah.
Okay, and it opened up at 7. I had it capped it at -11. I think you started out with 9.
Yeah, I think mine was 9.
And my associate in Cleveland had it at 7, so he had about right because I think he was looking ahead. He doesn't like laying a lot of points on the road.
But I will say that tease it down to pick them, I don't think they lose this game.
No, I don't think they lose. No way.
And then who's your dog, Frank?
My dog. Last week my dog was Tennessee, and I liked it a lot.
And they won.
Yeah, and they won. I'm going with the Saints against Green Bay.
I like that pick.
I know I'm not crazy about it either.
No, I like it. I like it.
You do like it?
We do like it.
Oh, I don't have to give you a DeNozo on that.
No, not this one.
Okay. I'm going to give just one reason why I didn't. I like, obviously, as the year goes on, you're going to notice I like betting defensive teams. So
He only
here-
said that 80 times when he
and-
was talking about the Browns.
Okay, and I'm going to give you the top 5 teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think, teams in football right now defensively. Cleveland's, of course, number 1. Jets are number 2, believe it or not.
That's not hard to believe.
And San Francisco, number 3.
There it is.
So after last night, they move up to number 2.
Go Steelers.
Saints is next. I didn't see it coming, but they didn't really play anybody yet, so I'm not sure where the numbers are coming from yet. I'll have to do a little more research on that, and I'll come back with you on that next week. And of course, Dallas. So these are top defensive teams. But Philly's not in there. Buffalo's not in there. Why? I have no idea. But again, give me a little more time. I'll do a little more research on this, and
He'll get it to you.
I will give it to you. I'll pull these numbers up and figure out, the rankings. They're
So your
one.
point. So your point behind the Saints is that you like their defense.
Apparently that's what I'm going with. And Carr still needs a lot of work. Their offensive line definitely needs a lot of work.
Frank, I don't understand how you start. This is my pick, and then you bash on the team that you just had to pick.
Well, I have a lot of buts.
People are not feeling convinced by you right now.
No, they shouldn't be.
That's bad, Frank.
But if you're going to take a shot on a money line, this is the team you would take a shot on. I mean, I think a basis betting a money line is getting a team that it has a lot of points and that you're looking for an upset. That's the idea.
Yeah, you want a lot of
money
points.
line.
It's not a lot of points though.
No,
it's only
not.
plus 1.
Yeah, 1. Well, I thought it was 2.5 or 3.
No, it went down to 1. So maybe you're on the right side. Listen, it sounds like you're on the right side of line moves and I'm on the wrong side. But let's get to our survivor picks.
All right, go ahead.
I'm going to go. Frank actually lost his last week with Denver. I won mine with Dallas. We're going to go Jacksonville this week. I like this Jacksonville team. I think they easily win this division. I've never been high on the Houston team. I think they finished third only because I think the Colts are pathetic. That's not saying that the Texans are going to be good. I just think the Colts are that bad. And I think that money line, Jacksonville all day. No chance they lose this game at home.
Okay.
Who do you got? Even though you lost last week, we'll still give you one.
Oh, my teaser bet. Well,
No, your survivor pick. His survivor pick's Miami. His Alzheimer's kicking up because we're right at 30 minutes and he can barely remember what we talked about before the podcast.
Yes. I do have 2 more survivor picks left. I had
Started
5.
with 5.
And Denver beat me last week with that. Yeah, so let's I'm going with Miami. That's still my number 1 pick. I do have another survivor pick, but we're not gonna. Let's hopefully.
We don't want to discuss it. Frank doesn't want to jinx it. He's already down. He's already below 50%. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for watching our podcast. Thank you, Frank. Thank you myself, I guess. And
I got one more note before I say goodbye.
Okay.
McVay, I'm watching you.
He's coming for you, McVay.
I'm coming for you.
And let's cash some tickets.